You want to talk about something fun? It's fun for me. May not be fun for you. I was on Facebook and somebody had these fucking stupid groups. I hate being in groups because everyone thinks they're right. Everyone thinks everyone else is wrong. How about that? That's fucking annoying. Nobody wants to talk. But someone had posted this picture of the Greek god Hermes, and this rubbish quote. And someone thought they were smart by saying, "Oh, it's Hermes," and some other smarty pants said, "Well, why don't you do some real research on Hermes and find out who he really was?" It's got me thinking. I fucking love Hermes. I love Hermes. I do. He's the character, the entity that Hermes represents. So vast and so potent, so widespread. People have no idea who Hermes is. The fact that the teachings of this entity, we'll call him, are so widespread that you use his name maybe not on a regular basis, but you've heard of hermetic sealing. Vacuums suck. When you hermetically seal something, it means that it's impenetrable. It's hidden. It's taken away. You're taking away the air out of something, and it's sealed. Sealed. It's hidden from the outside world. Hermes, also know him, won't even realize it, is on the side of ambulances, hospitals, the caduceus, twin snakes. The caduceus staff, which is what Hermes used to walk around with, and to raise the dead, he would tap them on the forehead, wake them the fuck up. It's kind of like Jesus. It's actually older. There's old statues of Jesus Christ showing him do the same thing with a staff. Not a caduceus staff, but a staff. Tap people on the head and wake them up. That's a cool conversation. So, in some traditions, it's actually thought that Hermes Trismegistus, that's his name, Hermes the thrice great, the master of the masters, was in fact an incarnation of the avatar that is represented by Jesus Christ in the Piscean Age. So what I just said there, that's some deep astrology shit, esoteric astrology shit, so do we want to get into that? Maybe we'll save it. Well, Hermes, we'll get back to Hermes, because I like Hermes. Hermes existed in several pantheons throughout history, during the pagan ages. Came in many names, many different looks. In Rome, he was known as Mercury. In Greece, ancient Greece, he was known as Hermes. Hermes Mercurius. Hermes Mercurius Trismegistus. In Egyptian lore, he was known as Thoth. 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 Also, tarot. How many people know this? Not even ones who read it. The 22 cards of the major arcana are also known in the esoteric traditions, in the occult. Not cult. People always fucking get that confused. The occult. Occult means hidden, underneath. Occult comes from the Latin verb occultare, which means to make hidden. Occultare comes from the Latin noun oculus, which means eye. It's hidden from sight. The occult. When there is a solar eclipse, it's called an occulting. The peak of the eclipse, when the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun are in perfect alignment, and when the the sun is completely eclipsed. It's called occulted or oculated, something along those. So the occult teachings, cards, astrology, Kabbalah, magic, alchemy, all that type of shit. It's all based off of the teachings of Hermes. Okay, Hermes is also known as the messenger of the gods. Hermes is said to have brought the knowledge and wisdom of the gods down to man, which is where we learned all these things. The Book of Thoth, the major arcana of the tarot, not everyone's going to know what that means, is, some traditions is known as the Book of Thoth, like I said, and what it tells the story of is a pictorial story of the evolution of human consciousness. What does that mean? What does it mean to evolve your consciousness? So think of yourself in just a mundane sort of way. Just a regular person. Your thoughts are, you know how they usually are. You're kind of stuck in your everyday routines. And this is probably like a treat. Evolving your consciousness is being this all the time, not going back to that. It's expanding your mind enough so that you recognize the magic of the world around you. Because Hermes is known as the father of magic as well. Because it's through his teachings that the initiate, that's what it's called, learns the magic around them. What that means to the individual is unique to the individual. It's like the movie The Matrix, where Morpheus is talking to Neo. He says, unfortunately, nobody can show you, I really quote movies a lot, unfortunately, no one can show you what the Matrix is. No one can tell you what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. It's like that. It's not something you can explain in words. It's something that needs to be seen with eyes that can see and ears that can hear. Remember, Jesus said that, no? There's a reason he said that. We're gonna get into some cool shit soon. Now I'm getting freaky. I'm feeling a little feisty. I'm not giving a fuck. Because I've been needing somebody to fucking talk to. So, we'll leave the Jesus stuff out for now because I know some people aren't comfortable with that. We'll stick with Hermes. So anyway, Hermes was known to awaken the dead with his caduceus staff, tap him on the forehead to wake him up. So essentially what that was symbolic of something. The caduceus staff, the two snakes, represent the two aspects of the mind. They represent the ego and they represent the creative, the masculine and the feminine. And what Hermes was doing when he was waking the dead from their graves, it's like when Jesus was raising the dead from their graves. These aren't dead people. You cannot, I don't know, I never tried, but it's metaphorical. It's metaphorical for the spiritually dead. It's metaphorically for the people who do not have that sight, do not have the hearing, don't have the capacity. They're dead inside to the spiritual nature of themselves. Because we all have a spiritual nature, whatever the fuck you want it to be. You all have a belief in something. You don't really believe that there's nothing. You'd like to tell people that, but you just want to be different. I get it. I used to be the same way. But by tapping the dead on the forehead with the caduceus staff, which represents the two aspects of the mind, represents unity, represents what's called Christ consciousness. That's a whole other story for a whole other time. And I just brought it up because I said Christ. It's a fun fact about Christ, by the way. It's not a name. Christ isn't a name. It's a lie. Oh, it's half lie. Christ is a title. It's a spiritual fucking title. The word Christ comes from a Greek word called Christos. The word Christos means anointed one. Anointed. Third eye. You know what I mean? The word Christos is a Greek translation of a Hebrew word Meshaik. Meshaik. I can't speak Hebrew. I don't like the way it sounds. Meshaik. The English translation of the word Meshaik is Messiah. It means anointed one. But we'll save that for another day. Back to Hermes. So Hermes taught what was known as alchemy. People get it confused because alchemy is kind of known as this bullshit science about making lead into gold. Alchemy is kind of where chemistry came from. The word alchemy, alchem, ancient Egypt, it wasn't always called Egypt. It used to be called Kemet. It means the Black Land. And alchemy, al-chem, from chem. Something like that. But I think he kind of wordplay, just the way it works. I don't fucking know. I still got more I gotta learn, and there's something that's not popping in my head right now that I'm not ready to talk about, I guess. But anyway, alchemy, from a literal standpoint, ended up turning into chemistry, and you got these idiots that still try to make lead into gold and do all this weird shit. It doesn't work. But from a spiritual, mental standpoint, alchemy is all about, yes, transmuting lead to gold, but not in a literal sense. There's a saying in alchemy, solve et coagula. It's a Latin term. What it means is solve means to take apart, to break. Coagula means to put back together again. So solve et coagula, to put together and take apart, or take apart and put back together again. What you're doing is you're taking yourself apart, taking out the impurities of who you are, and then putting yourself back together again. Transmuting lead, represented by the planet Saturn, death, spiritually dead, to create gold. Gold is represented by the sun. It's knowledge, it's truth, it's life. In the old traditions, the sun is the one true God, because without the sun, there's no life. It's what creates everything. Take away the sun, what do you think's gonna be there? Nothing. Can't live without sun. Old days, that's what the sun was representative of. And actually, Jesus Christ, this is a very unique thing. I need to understand this better myself, but if you've ever heard, and you probably haven't, of astrotheology. Astrotheology is known as the ancient religion. Uses the zodiac and tells a story of a savior through the cycles of the sun, through the zodiac. There's a book, I haven't read it, but I've been meaning to. It's called The 12 Saviors Who Died on the Cross Before Jesus. Jesus wasn't the first. There's multiple men throughout different religions, thousands of years before Christianity, that had been the savior of mankind, that gave himself up to save the people of the world, died for people's sins. Krishna, Buddha, I think Buddha was one of them, Ra, Horus in the Egyptian pantheon. There's just the three that are just popping up in my head. But Krishna, Christ. Wow, it's about the wordplay. There's a lot more fun we're gonna have with this. I don't even think I finished on Hermes, but we'll get back to that when I have more time. I just wanted to get that out.